up, you guys? So I am currently rereading
New Moon by Stephanie Meyer.
I absolutely love the Twilight series if you're new here. So far, I am 2 chapters in. So chapter 1 is so problematic in so many ways because, like, oh my god, everyone is so dramatic, but also there's the whole unaliving yourself conversation that happens between Edward and Bella, and the way both of them kind of respond and interact in that conversation is so bad. Like, oh my god, that's not okay, because this is exactly what a toxic relationship is when you feel like you are the reason this person is breathing and vice versa. You feel like the person you're with is the reason you're breathing. Like, no, have your own reason for breathing, right? Don't rely on someone else to be your reason for being alive. That is chapter 1. Moving on to chapter 2 is the whole party scene. Bella being so melodramatic about it being her birthday and not wanting it to be her birthday is one of my favorite moments in this whole book. Like, she's freaking out about being 18. Like, girlfriend, chill the out, okay? Like, I'm freaking out about being 22. Or am I 23?
Age is just a number, baby. What are you, like 40 now?
So back to where I was. Chapter 2, cinematic blood spurting down her arm from a paper cut. And then, you know, the whole, like, Jasper trying to eat her thing happens. It's so frustrating that, like, she blames herself and Edward blames himself. Like, y'all just understand the situation was just a bad situation. Sometimes bad shit happens. It's not that big of a deal, because, like, you're fine. I need them to both chill. I need them to both take a chill pill and calm the down. And so then after the whole Jasper trying to eat her, Edward just gets so melodramatic. Edward, we just need you to just not. I hate how him getting upset makes Bella react in such a way that she feels like she is walking on eggshells. Like, it's just so uncomfortable. The beginning of New Moon, I forgot how uncomfortable it was. Okay, so I just finished chapters 3 and 4. 3 is where Edward leaves, and it's heartbreaking and it hurts every single time to read. And y'all, his breakup is so harsh. Like, he gives her like no explanation and no like reasonings. Poor Bella has no closure. He's so bad at breakups and like just trying to like help the person through it. It's just so painful to read. And then you go through Bella just like flipping through the months and like not even really living or existing, and it's just does anyone remember when you first read that and you were like, oh shit, this hurts. I don't like being dumped, Edward. Don't dump me, Edward. So anyways, that's largely what chapter 4 is. It's just the whole like dumping and like the awkwardness after the whole like Jasper incident, Edward just being so distant, and then him leaving, and then Bella dying. It's all fine. Then we get to chapter 5 where Bella has to like start functioning again. It's kind of boring how just like dead she is. Like, I want her to have some emotion. Like, I want her to be like sad and depressed and not like a robot in this moment right now. And then she goes and she gets with Jessica to like prove to her dad that she should stay in Forks because she's like recovering. Oh my god, that whole bit is so uncomfortable when she starts going up to those guys who she thinks she recognizes from the previous book who tried to do some bad things. And like, dude, honestly, it's so terrifying to like read someone who's in that headspace. She's not actively trying to do things to herself, but like, it feels like she wants things to happen that are not good to herself, if you know what I'm saying. It's just really painful to read that, and it hurts so much. And it also shows you again why this relationship was just so toxic. But I still love it. This is my favorite toxic relationship. So I just finished another chapter and we finally have Jacob in the story. I missed Jacob. He brings such a lightness to the story, and he brings such a lightness to Bella because she's just so dark and moody. Turn off the emo music and stop with the angst. She needs Jacob so badly in this book because she just needs something to latch onto. And I feel like she's honestly kind of cruel to Jacob in this book. She's just looking for like anything reckless and stupid to do. But also I love reckless and stupid Bella because she's actually fun. She actually has like a personality. She actually like wants to do things. So I'm really excited to get into the reckless and fun portion of Bella. Oh, and also she got some bikes. that she's gonna fix up with her boy Jacob, and her daddy would disapprove. So the 3 chapters that I read were chapters 6, 7, and 8. So chapter 6 is where she drives the motorcycles to Jacob, and she's honestly not being a good person here because I feel like she's abusing Jacob. She's leading him on and making him think that there's maybe a future here with her, and she knows there isn't, and I don't like that. I wish she wouldn't do that. I wish that she could set more clear boundaries. She's just not good at setting boundaries with Jacob, and it's so frustrating because he's so nice to her and he's just trying to help her out, and she's really struggling and he's really helping. Like, you gotta learn to set boundaries, babe. I do love all of these moments though, because like, it's so cute to see Jacob just being cute and being like a kid and being young. I like young Jacob. I don't like Jacob as much after he becomes a werewolf, but we'll get into that later. Jacob right now, he's just so cute and he's so fun and he's so energetic and I just love it. I'm Team Jacob, by the way, if y'all didn't know. And then we get to chapter 7 where they're kind of working on fixing the radios, and again, Jacob's just being all cutesy, but also Bella starts looking for like more reckless shit to do and she sees the cliff divers, and I love that whole moment where she's like, let's go. Let's go right now. And it's like, girlfriend, you literally just saw this person and you thought they were trying to do things to themselves, and now you want to go do it right away? Like, correct yourself before you wreck yourself. Except she wants to like wreck herself. Then we also have her going back and revisiting some of the Cullen places. She goes back to the Cullen house. It's honestly like kind of sad to see this shell of something that we're so used to being this like really cool, like magical place. And she also starts trying to find the meadow in chapter 8. I just don't like looking for these magical places that aren't magical anymore because the magical people aren't there anymore. And so it's just sad. This book is just really sad. Then we have Bella and Jacob riding the motorcycles. I love crazy Bella, who's just like, lol, sometimes you bleed. Lol, bleeding ain't shit. Honestly, I love it. It's some of my favorite shit. Bella in this book, goddamn hilarious, because she's just losing it the entire time. So I just finished the next 2 chapters, chapters 9 and 10. So in chapter 9, we have the best chapter in the book, potentially in all of Twilight, right? Because it's the weird date thing at the movies with Mike and Jacob and Bella. And it's just hilarious because they're both so confrontational. Everyone is sick. Like, it's just fantastic. I love Angry Jake and I love Angry Mike and I love Awkward Bella. Like, I just love how they're both there with their arms out, wanting her to like hold their hands. Also, who likes holding hands? Okay, like, I know some people do it, but I hate it. It's one of my least favorite things. It's a huge turnoff for me if someone's like holding my hand as we're just like walking around. Like, can I just have my hands to myself? Don't touch my hands. That's something that just for me is a huge pet peeve, and so it gets me that Jacob is always holding her hand and I'm like, Jacob, stop. And then on to the boundaries conversation. Bella is really bad at setting boundaries, but Jacob is also really bad at listening to where those boundaries are. Like, it's like a 2-fault situation here. They are both at fault for the emotions that are going through both of them. Now on to Mike in all of this. Mike needs to just stop as well. Like, he doesn't listen either. What's with it in the men in the series and just the not listening? None of them do it. On to the next chapter. Jacob goes MIA and Bella goes absolutely cray. So Bella goes and like finds the meadow all on her own and then has like a freak out when she runs into Laurent and then like the wolves and stuff, and it's fantastic. That honestly is one of the best moments in the series, like from like a plot perspective, just because like it adds plot to the story. Because before this, plot wise, it was very not plot, but this adds a little bit of a plot. Just a little bit. I love that scene. I love how awkward it is. I love how Bella's just like not sure what to do because she's just this weak human and everyone else around her is so much stronger than her. Oh, also, something I haven't talked about so far is the age thing that Bella and Jacob do that I think it's so fun that they like are competing age-wise as to like how old each other is. I think that it's just like a fun little bantery thing that like adds so much to both of their characters. I just finished the next 2 chapters, chapters 11 and 12. I am super tired, but These two chapters were super crazy in what happened because we had Jacob and Bella kind of talking about what Jacob is and going through some kind of tough times. Jacob kind of breaks up with Bella for a second, but then he immediately comes and visits her in the middle of the night. Like, what the hell, Jacob? You're flip-flopping on me here. Hot and cold, hot and cold. Pick one, Jacob. Pick one. But Jacob is trying to tell Bella what he is without saying what he is, and Bella's trying to figure out what he is, but she's clearly still obsessed with Edward, so she can only think Edward thoughts, and it's not making her life any easier. But she figures it out, and he's a werewolf, and now she's driving to go meet with Jacob and confront him about being a werewolf, because she thinks the werewolves are killing people, which, like, is fair because she's not aware of, like, Victoria and stuff being around, but also, like, she should know better. Like, Jacob's not a murderer. He's like a little puppy, not like this Kit Kat. She's a demon. I just read the next 3 chapters of New Moon, so I read chapters 13, 14, and 15, and so in chapter 13, we have Bella going and confronting Jacob, and Jacob accusing her of being a hypocrite, and Bella being like, but you're like a monster, dude, and then Jacob being like, but like, you dated a monster, dude, and then Bella being like, well, yeah, but like, my monster didn't kill people in the present. He killed people in the past. And then Jacob's just like, well, I don't kill anyone at all. And you still like that bitch more than me? That's pretty much all chapter 13 is. And then we get to chapter 14 where Bella meets the rest of the werewolves. And I love the rest of the werewolves. Oh, and also over the course of these 2 chapters, she tells them about how Victoria has been hunting her down and how she's fixing to get like murdered up in here. And she spills all the beans on the Cullens. She is the worst spy ever. Also, she wouldn't make a really great spy outside of like spying on the Cullens because like you would kind of have to be a vampire to be able to interact with like more vampires because like vampires are a very closed off group for the most part, it seems like not many people interact with vampires aside from like the Cullens. So then we have chapter 16 where Bella is trying to hide away and like the push from Victoria, and she's not really hanging out with Jake right now because Jake is busy trying to save her life. She's just being really selfish about the whole thing, I think, and thinking like, poor me, I'm so alone and I'm so worried and I'm so scared. And it's just like, girl, Victoria has to die either way because she's still killing people anyways, right? Like, she still has to eat somehow. You're not her only meal. She does want to make you a meal, but you're not her only one. So let the werewolves do their thing. And also, her being so, like, unsure of the werewolves is so rude. Like, they're badasses. Let them be badasses. You do not compare. Your mortal self does not compare. Stop worrying. And so in this chapter as well, because she's getting lonely and she's freaking out, she decides to jump off of a cliff. I just don't understand. Because like, she's jumping from a super high cliff into the middle of water that is like really dangerous water. Like, it's just not a smart idea. It's not something you do by yourself. You always take someone with you on these events, so that way you don't die. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's like your first time and you don't really know what you're doing. You only think you do. Like, again, you don't do it alone. She's not being safe. She's being reckless. She wants to see her Edward. And I get it, because we all want to see Edward. But she needs to stop. Also, something I've been thinking about, the fact that Edward is a vampire and she really couldn't go to therapy for any of this, like, she needed to go to therapy. She should have just made up different ways to describe it because, like, honestly, this girl needs some hardcore therapy. Like, she ain't doing well. Like, Charlie should have enrolled her in therapy, forced her to go, because she needed it. And I don't know if that's like ethical to like force someone to go to therapy, but if you're like this, then like you need therapy, honestly. Oh, and also I love all of the other werewolves. I love getting to like meet them and talk to them. I love like Jared, Paul, and Embry, and like how like kind of rude they are to each other and how they riff with one another. I wish that we had more of this in this entire series because I feel like it's just so missing. Okay, so I just read chapters 16, 17, and 18, I think. Yeah, 16, 17, and 18. So 16, Bella is just going full melodramatic again. She is comparing herself to Romeo and Juliet in a very obsessive way. Girlfriend, your story ain't Romeo and Juliet, okay? Your romance, it just ain't there. Okay? Edward is not young Leo, okay? That is the Romeo and Juliet I subscribe to, is the young Leo version. Girlfriend needs to stop. She needs to stop comparing people to other people, and she just needs to, like, accept people for who they are, and it's just so annoying. Like, get over yourself. Oh, also, she was saved. She has a really sore throat. And then we have Alice show up, and oh my goodness, I love having Alice back, but also, it really reminds me how much of like a tonal difference there is between like the vampires and the werewolves. Like the werewolves are fun, the vampires are just so serious. Bella is so serious with the vampires. She needs to just loosen up a little bit and be a little bit lighter, but I like having Alice back. It makes me feel happy because Alice is my favorite. I like getting a little bit more of the backstory in here than you do in the movies, where you kind of understand where everyone is and what everyone's been doing in regards to like the Cullens. And I really love like Alice and Charlie talking about stuff, and Charlie reacting to Alice being back and getting to see that and getting to see him be like nervous and scared for what this is going to mean for Bella, but also being happy that an old friend is back. It's just all great. Then we have the whole Jacob on the phone thing. And just, this is rude. If you pick up someone else's phone, give the phone back to that person. Don't just answer it and be like, yeah, he's at a funeral. Let the other person talk. You're not the one who lives in this house. It's not your house phone. Also, him assuming that it's Carlisle doesn't make any sense. How does he even know what Carlisle sounds like? He's never met the dude. That's a plot hole. Then Edward has, you know, his moment where he makes his decision and Alice sees the decision that he has made. I love Bella's reaction because she just doesn't understand, because she like genuinely thinks that Edward doesn't love her anymore. And I don't understand how from his reaction she doesn't think that he still at least cares a little bit about her safety. Oh, and also Harry Clearwater died, and that's really sad. Poor Charlie. I really feel for Charlie in all of this. Charlie is just an innocent bystander here. He doesn't deserve any of this. I got through another 3 chapters. These 3 were where Edward comes back, and I miss Edward, don't get me wrong, but like I didn't miss him that much. Like I kind of wish he would go away again. He's just too serious, too broody, and this whole scene bit is just way too melodramatic. I think that's the theme of this video and the theme of this book, melodrama. We open up in these first 3 chapters where we're trying to go and save Edward, and honestly the lead up to trying to go and save Edward is kind of boring, and then as well as the saving Edward part is kind of boring just because nothing really happens. Bella is just freaking out that Edward is gonna die, but he doesn't. So, you know, she's running across the thing, you know, the water and the red people, and she runs into Edward, and then Edward is just like thinking he's in heaven or some shit. Edward acts really weird for like a second, and then it clicks for him, and then he's all serious, tough guy. I'm gonna protect my lady boy. Then we meet the Volturi. The Volturi are such a fun part of this book, I think, and they're honestly like one of my favorite parts of this series. They're interesting, they're weird, they're kooky. I kind of want like a little like side book just about like Aeromarcus and Caius and like what they get up to during the day. Because like when you're that old, like what do you do? How do you live life? And then we meet Jane and Alec, and Jane and Alec are kind of creepy and like they look like siblings, but also it feels like there's some weird chemistry there that's just really uncomfortable subtext to read in this book. I don't know if it's meant to be there or not, but does anyone else feel that same way? Where it's like there's just really uncomfortable subtext between these 2 siblings and you just want them to like be siblings, you know, act like they're supposed to in a healthy way. So I finished reading New Moon. I finished the last like 3 chapters in the epilogue. All in all, New Moon is probably one of my favorite or Twilight books just because there is so much light to it with Jacob in there, and then it's also got really dark moments. It's got some great times, and we have less Edward, and Edward is annoying, and I'm just not Team Edward. As far as the last part of the book goes, we have them leaving the Volturi flying home, Bella being a bit obsessive about not wanting to fall asleep so that she can spend as much time just literally looking at Edward as possible. And I'm like, girlfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend. This ain't healthy, okay? You are literally physically like hurting yourself and exhausting yourself because you are obsessed with someone. Just stop being obsessed, maybe? But then Alice and Jasper reunite, and I love that moment because, like, oh, Alice and Jasper are my favorite couple in this entire series. Like, they're just looking at each other all doe-eyed and cute, and oh my god, it's just so beautiful. Oh, and then Rosalie apologizes to Bella, and I support this whole, like, apology thing. Because, like, it did kind of need to happen because Rosalie did make a little bit of a mistake there. Then Bella and Edward talk a lot, and it's really annoying because they're both just, like, so overly in love with each other, and they're like, you're my entire world, and it just needs to stop. They need to find other hobbies other than each other. Thought on Edward. So he's against turning her into a vampire, but also he's in love with her and is like attracted to her and stuff. So like, if he were to keep her human, is he just planning for her to be celibate her entire life without any consideration for her? Because I don't think that's right. I think that's a little rude. From there, we have the whole voting thing. I love the voting moment. I really love Rosalie's response to the voting moment, especially when we get to like Eclipse and like her backstory and you get to see kind of why she said, no, I wish someone would have voted no for me. And I just think it's really heartwarming to kind of have that moment, even though Bella doesn't really understand why yet. And then we get to the epilogue, and oh my goodness, these past few chapters we've really been missing Jake. Like, I understand why he's not here right now because Edward's back and like we don't have an Edward-shaped hole in the book anymore. But where's Jacob been? Like, we need to have more consideration for Jacob. Jacob needs to be like freaking out and calling or just caring a little bit, showing some level of caring. But then he comes and turns Bella in for the whole motorcycle thing, and that's hilarious. Like, that's just perfect moment. Like, I think that it was awful and like terrible, and it hurts to physically feel betrayed by Jacob, but also like his reasoning is great, where he's just like, I want her to be grounded so that she can't date her boyfriend. That's New Moon. That's all my thoughts. I give this a solid 2 out of 5 stars. It's a great book. I love it. It'll always be one of my faves, but it's so problematic. I forgot how problematic it was because like in comparison to like the rest of Twilight, which it's all problematic, I think this goes on the list as being one of the highly problematic books in the series. People are just trying to do things that they shouldn't be doing all the damn time. I'll see you in my next video. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, all of the things. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!